18,000 successful real estate transactions, 9,250 successful transactions in Hanoi, 8,750 successful transactions in Ho Chi Minh City, FDI of nearly $500 million. These are impressive figures in the real estate market in the first 6 months of 2015. According to a report by the Ministry of Construction, increasing number in real estate transactions dramatically decreases real estate inventories to 67,000 billion VND. Prices in a number of projects have also increased slightly from 5 to 10%. Many experts predicted the significant growth in the first 6 months will become a solid foundation for stronger growth period in the second half of 2015.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today on Sharing Vietnam on VTC 10 channel. In the first half of 2015, Vietnam real estate market has seen good improvement. And to understand more about this subject, today we have a talk with Mr. Jonathan Tizzard, the Director of Research and Valuation from Cushman Wakefield Vietnam. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Jonathan. As we've seen in the reportage above, Vietnam real estate market has seen good improvement. What do you think about this statement?
It certainly has seen a big improvement even from a year ago, especially in the residential sectors. Office sector in Ho Chi Minh City is very low vacancies at the moment. It's not all plain sailing though. There's a lot of oversupply in the office market in Hanoi. Some of the retail developments haven't performed quite as well as expected.
The number of successful transactions in the real estate market has increased dramatically. Why so, and will this continue in the future?
Okay, so it's really the perfect storm of a very good economy in terms of stability. Last year GDP was increasing all the time. There's also the things like the TPP, that's really helped the industrial market moving forward. We've had a lot of interest from manufacturers out of China or other places. That's really been driving the market so far. Residential market, as hinted at, has been doing very well. And that's not just because of things like TPP, it's also because there's a lot of pent-up demand. Things like affordable housing, there's always been a big demand for. But what people have now is choice. They've got some really good schemes that are coming online, and that's been reflected in the sales rates.
Along with the increasing number of transactions, the residential prices also increased slightly over the past few months. What do you think about that, especially when the prices of some projects increased from 5 to 10%?
Some projects have been very popular. So these are always developers that people trust. They're a product which is finished to a very high standard. And they're in a good location, which is very important. Once you have this, there's a buzz about a project. You can't really apply this to every project. It's on a very case-by-case basis. And where there have been price increases is because the product is much better than its other competitors at that price point. If you look at what's expected to come online in the future, well, there's a lot of stock going to be built. So we don't expect price increases to happen over the long term. And if speculators do come to the market, well, that's when the authorities should probably start to get involved.
From the 1st of July 2015, 2014 real estate business law formally took effect, resulting in a series of favorable policies for the property market. One of the regulations is that foreigners are allowed to own houses in Vietnam. With many expats in Vietnam, that is good news.
People around the world will not afraid to come in Vietnam and to invest money and to get some apartment or some house. I think it's a very good point for your country, and I'm sure, like I told you before, in 10 years will be big place in the world. I'm sure about that.
Apart from the regulation that foreigners are allowed to own houses in Vietnam, the new law also states that overseas Vietnamese have permanent home ownership as own domestic citizens. There is also a positive impact on the residential market. That is why FDI and remittance pouring in the real estate market in Vietnam have been increasingly rapidly. The market is expected to develop further in 2015.
Tôi nghĩ là cái điều quan trọng nhất là riêng đối với bất động sản thì chúng ta cũng tạo ra một cái thị trường bất động sản minh bạch hơn và hấp dẫn hơn, dễ dàng đầu tư, dễ dàng xây dựng, dễ dàng sở hữu và dễ dàng thanh khoản, thì như vậy mới là một sự thu hút.
Some investors said they concentrated more on the needs of the end users. A house with a more reasonable area and price, better service quality and information transparency is what the buyers may get when they try to buy a house. Many experts said the market will improve when everything is back to its intrinsic value.
It is said that Vietnam real estate market gained stability due to the fact that customers have been regarded as the priority and that investors have tried to meet their demands. What do you think about the positions between the customers and the investor currently in this market? And have the investor fulfilled their responsibility?
I think so. Any market, the customer is king. And what we've got in Vietnam is suddenly a lot more choice. And the good developers have realised this, and so they've tried to make the best possible product at the best possible price. And you'll still see, as mentioned, there's a big difference in the quality of schemes. It's not like other markets where you have an acceptable level of quality. We've seen schemes that aren't probably as good quality. But then the customer realises this, and they don't buy those ones. And that's what we're seeing for the first time in Vietnam. It's the sign of a maturing market.
Some said that the Vietnam real estate market has been improved due to the government's policies and reforms. What do you think about that, especially when the 2014 real estate law went into effect since the beginning of July?
Look, the government has supported the real estate market, the 30 trillion dong scheme for affordable housing. That's certainly helped. Obviously, foreigners being able to buy will help some schemes as well. But the market is driven by other forces, really. It's the improving banking environment. It's the fact that a lot of more people want to invest into Vietnam, and the fact that people here don't have that much else to invest into. And the real estate market is an outlet for a lot of people's investment ambitions. So it's the government's helped, especially with confidence, because people have seen that the government is committed to a healthy real estate market, but it's not the sole reason. It's got to be the market forces that dictate this.
What about the policies in attracting FDI in this sector? Currently, in the first 6 months of 2015, nearly $500 million have been poured into this market.
Yeah, it's really been driving the market. As a sort of real estate firm, we get a lot of investors from overseas coming to us, asking about the market, saying, is it the right time to invest? And we're saying, absolutely yes. So there's a lot of people with a lot of money waiting on the sidelines. But what is apparent is that sometimes there's not really the stock, there's not the quality of stock that they want to buy. For example, we know a lot of people who want to buy office buildings that are operating. There's just not enough things for sale. So that's been very interesting. We are seeing a lot of Asian investors look at real estate, residential market. So we expect to see a few more schemes being invested there. And I think a lot of people are waiting though to see how these new laws play out. How easy is it to get money in and out of the country? So I think towards the end of the year and early next year, we'll start to see these guys coming into the market. But the government is absolutely doing the right thing by attracting investors, because it will raise the quality of construction, of everything. So that's very exciting.
So in your opinion, will this market continue to improve sustainably in the coming future, and how will it develop?
Okay, yes, it will keep going. If you look at the recession, it was over, 6 years? Just at the beginning of the upswing. It's not every sector yet has felt that upswing. So we're really at the beginning of what we hope will be a very long upswing. I think the government policies in terms of stability in the economy, instead of just pure growth, I mean, that will really help the stability in the market. We hope there's not huge price increases because that will lead to speculation. But with the amount of stock, as alluded to earlier, there is a lot to be built in the future. And you'll see every new infrastructure, every new piece of infrastructure, you'll see new development around it. I mean, that's very important for the real estate market. So with the metro line, you can almost chart the progress of the real estate market around those stations. So that's very encouraging. All the new roads as well. We expect the second cities, you know, the Cantor, the Haiphong, those sort of places to become very important as well. So it's an exciting time to be in the market, definitely.
So as a Director of Research and Valuation, do you have any advice to give for the investors and people who work in the real estate market right now to maintain this development and improve more in the future?
Yes, I think the most important piece of advice is do your homework. Know what your investment goals are, what your return is, and do your homework about the developer and the scheme that you're interested in. People say that the rental returns are 6 to 7% on residential property at the moment. Well, they are, but how long will that last? Is that a gross or a net figure? We think it's gross. And actually, if you factor in the amount of people who can afford to pay $1,000 plus a month for a flat, it's not that many if you look at the amount of flats that will be built. So it's very important you speak to a professional, such as ourselves, and do your homework.
Thank you for joining us today on Sharing Vietnam. This is the end of Sharing Vietnam today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you again.